We are going to read the poem Times from Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is presented at the autobiography of Goliath, the teacher. The title of the book comes from the Greek word for preacher or teacher. This book is in the form of autobiography, telling of his investigation of the meaning of life and the best way to spend it. Ecclesiastes has had a very deep influence on the Western literature. The main theme of Ecclesiastes is humanity's fruitless search for contentment. As the contentment cannot be found in human endeavors or material things, while wisdom and knowledge, they leave many questions unanswered. This leads to a sense of hollowness and emptiness in human mind. Meaning in life can only be found if we have a correct and direct relationship with our Creator. The fear of God, only the fear of God leads to a meaningful life. The Bible contains many great poems, and Ecclesiastes is one of the most popular poems from the Bible. It declares that all human activity, whether it is great or it is small, has a preordained time. There is a right time and a wrong time to do all these things. When a person is carrying out a particular action at the correct time, his efforts, they are usually successful. But at the same time, if these actions, they are not done at the correct time, they may prove fruitless and they may end up in failure. This poem is describing the way in which God has created and organized everything. There is a time for everything. God has ordered the passage of time and the activities that are to take place in the different stages of a man's life. There is a different time for every season to come and go. There are different types of relationships between nations, how they develop and how they deteriorate. It is a basic law of nature that everything happens according to its appropriate time. God, who has created this world and created this universe, He has set up a particular and fixed time for everything to take place. We are looking at the poem Times, its word meanings, and then its paraphrase. Season means time. Purpose is the intention or the aim. Heaven is the sky or paradise. These lines, they emphasize that there is some fixed time for everything to occur or happen. There is some specific time for every purpose in this world. The seasons, they change at a fixed time. They come and go according to the timetable set by God. There is a time to be born, and there is a time when one has to die. There is a time when we grow new plants, and there is a time when the same crop is harvested. There is a time to make or establish something new, and then there is again a time when we have to break it down. From the cradle to the grave, man's opportunity is limited, or there is a boundary of time. There is a beginning and there is an end of everything. Whatever begins at a fixed time, it has to end. We see that our life is not an endless and meaningless existence. There is a purposeful arrangement given to this life by God. God has planned our life according to a particular purpose. The events of our life, they are not happening randomly. God has a particular plan behind everything. He has decided when is going to be our birthday and when this life is going to finish and we will walk to our grave. He knows exactly when these events have to occur. There are absolutely no surprises on God's part. He is so sovereign that there is nothing and no one who can take your life before our God-ordained days. This is true of all the living things, of animals and of plants as well. We are born into this world and then we think that very quickly our time has come and we are walking to our grave. Every 8 seconds, somebody leaves this world. And after every 3 seconds, someone is born. So this life, it is a kind of a revolving door. Someone leaving, someone entering. We are looking at the next few lines of the poem, Times. Pluck is to pick. Planted, to put plants, seeds, etc. in the ground to grow. Break down is to fail or to be damaged. Build up is to create or develop something new. These lines tell us that it is true for the plants even, that their life begins and ends. The various seasons of planting and harvest, they have been set by our Creator. He sets the boundaries for the seasons to begin, and then these seasons, they also have a life and then they die. A new season takes their place. There is also a time to tear down old walls, relationships or relationships between nations, and there is a time to build up, to make everything new. Now the second line, it may refer to the demolition of the houses and their construction. It may also be figurative. In Bible or in the Old Testament, these words are used for tearing down and building up with reference to the destruction and building up of life. Now there is a right time for a farmer to sow new seeds or to plant his seeds. Then there is a time to harvest the crops. The time comes when the crop is ready and the fruit is ready and it has to be plucked. In these images, in the upper image, you see that a farmer is sowing the seeds. And in the next picture, you notice that the same crop is being harvested. We are looking at lines 9 to 12 from the poem Times. Weep is to cry. Cast away stones. It means to throw away stones or to hate someone or to do some kind of action which creates hatred. Gather stones mean to resolve the conflicts and to make friendships. These lines, they are expressing human emotions as crying, laughing, mourning, dancing, weeping, etc. Both sorrows and joys, they are the flavors of life. Without one, we cannot appreciate the others. There is a time when one has to express sorrow, and again there is a time when we have to show our joy and our pleasure. There is a time to weep, and there is a time to laugh, there is a time to dance, there is a time to rejoice. during the different phases of life, it is important for us to both grieve and to rejoice. We will encounter negative and positive emotions and experiences throughout our life. And as it is said, that the most permanent thing is change. It is only change that occurs constantly. Grieving is very healthy for human psyche, and it brings about a kind of a closure or a kind of a catharsis for us. It is also important for us to grieve, but again, laughter is as important as grieving. We are to find joy in midst of every season and in the transition between the seasons. What is actually meant here is that in between two sorrows, there is going to be a period of rejoicing. And in the periods of rejoicing, there is going to be a connection of sorrow. People should show emotions at the proper times. It is sometimes right to weep, and it is also correct to laugh at certain times. It is right to be sad about a departure, sad about a death. And it is right to feel unhappy if something wrong is done. Our happiness, it is dependent upon our harmony with the laws of nature. There is a time to throw stones at others. That is, there is a time when you have to carry on a conflict and a time to resolve that conflict. Sometimes people may show friendly behavior towards you, but sometimes they may not. Now, throwing stones, it may refer to the time when people are preparing a field. We need to clear the stones away before a crop is planted. But sometimes people on purpose scatter stones on a field so that they may ruin the crops which their enemy is going to plant. Lines 13 to 16 of the poem Times. Embrace is to accept an idea or to hug someone. Refrain is to stop yourself from doing something. Here the poet is talking about human relationships. We may start friendship with someone and we want to be with them and we embrace them and we hug them. But with the passage of time, this relationship may turn to something different. And we may start avoiding those people altogether. We may not even want to talk to them. And we start shunning those people. These lines, they are also talking about the nature of possessions. Something which is very precious to us, and we are very possessive about it. With the passage of time, this possession turns into rejection. And then we throw away those things. And if we need them, we try to look for them in our garage or in our closet. Acceptance and rejection of ideas, it again has to be at an appropriate time. Profit and loss, they are again ruled by time. Time is responsible when we get something, when we may not get something, or if we get something and then we may lose it. Time is the preserver and destroyer. The utility and possession of things, customs, rules, regulations, and laws, they are all related and ruled by time. Lines 17 to 22 of the poem Times. Cast away is to throw away or to waste anything. Rend is to tear something. Sew is to stitch or to repair anything. And keep silence means keep keeping still and quiet. Now over here, the poet is talking about the appropriate and the inappropriate times of talking or giving your opinion. It has been well said that in silence, a man can most readily preserve his integrity. A wise person actually knows when and how to keep his mouth shut and when to talk. We need to be very wise in the way we talk. Sometimes it is very easy to say a lot of careless things, but there is a certain stage when we require to be silent, and sometimes we have to say something or speak something despite our unwillingness to say anything. The tearing and sewing of clothes, it is referring to the process of construction and destruction. To make something new, we need to get rid of the old things. So in order to construct something, we need first to destruct the old ones and get hold of new things. The natural process goes like this. New ones take the place of the older ones. We may lose something. There is a time to search for it, but there is also a time to stop searching. There is a time to keep things, and there is a time to throw away the things. Time has been set for everything. How much we can use it, there is a particular time limit. And human beings have to follow the time ordained by God for everything, for every process.